What if the most magical part of your spring garden isn't something you buy, but something you rescue? What if broken jugs, fallen branches, and shattered windows could become the heart of a blooming fairy sanctuary? Today, you're about to see how the forgotten pieces of winter can be reborn into colorful, enchanting cactus cottage scenes that feel like stepping into another world. Welcome to Mind Over Decoration. Here, we transform simple materials, ordinary leftovers, and overlooked objects into meaningful art for your home and garden. In this video, we're diving into Winter-to-Spring Fairy-Upcycle, transform broken jugs, fallen branches and shattered windows into colorful mini cactus cottage scenes, a full journey from cold season scraps to warm, whimsical cottage beauty. This video includes timestamps so you can explore each idea at your own pace. If you have questions or want help adapting an idea to your space, feel free to leave a comment below. And if something sparks your imagination, take it, reshape it, and bring it to life with what you already have. Maybe to you, I'm just another creator on your screen. But behind every project here is a real person and a real family building a dream step by step. This isn't just content, it's a piece of our story. Every like, every comment, every subscribe truly keeps this journey alive. When you choose to support this channel, you aren't boosting numbers, you're helping a small family keep creating, keep hoping, and keep growing. Thank you for choosing to be here. Thank you for choosing to see us. The morning light arrived gently, as if hesitant to disturb the quiet breath of winter still resting upon the garden. Frost clung softly to the edges of the shattered window frame, turning every fragment into a tiny prism that caught the first touch of sun. Yet, beyond its fragile shimmer, a quiet warmth began to rise, not from the sky, but from the life hidden within the frame itself. Inside this broken window, a miniature world stirred awake. Cactus spines, once cold and pale beneath winter's hush, now glimmered with a hint of spring's promise. Petunias unfurled in slow motion, their colors deepening as the sun climbed higher, painting the cottage air with delicate fragrance. And there, between the stones, almost unseen, tiny fairy lanterns flickered, glimmers of soft gold woven into the stillness like whispered spells. The wind swept through gently, carrying the perfume of roses and the distant rustle of sunflowers. From the bouquet-blurred garden beyond, colors swam together like watercolor, cosmos pinks, tulip whites, the honeyed glow of Cornus Florida, and all of it framed the little cactus haven with a softness that felt like a dream returning home. The window, once discarded and forgotten, now stood as a quiet portal between seasons. Winter's crystals still clung to its edges, yet spring's warmth seeped through every gap. It was as if the frame held both worlds at once, the silence of winter and the awakening breath of spring. And in that tender balance, the fairy garden lived, tiny, enchanting, impossibly serene. Here, the broken became beautiful. Here, the discarded found purpose. Here, winter loosened its hold, and spring answered gently. And as the day unfolded, the frost cactus window haven glowed softly, an upcycled secret stitched between seasons, inviting anyone who wandered close to step into its quiet magic. The cracked jug sat quietly beneath the pale winter sun, its terracotta worn by time, its fractures softened by a dusting of lingering frost. What was once dismissed as broken now held a quiet promise, an invitation for spring to take root. And in that stillness, something magical had begun to bloom. From the largest crack, a small cactus emerged, steady, resilient, its spines catching the light like tiny shards of silver. Around it, petunias pressed gently toward the warmth, their petals swelling with color as though waking from a long, gentle dream. Shades of lavender, rose, and buttercream slipped across the air, weaving themselves into the cool breath of winter's final days. The jug, now painted in soft cottage pastels, seemed to glow from within. Its chipped edges, once jagged, now carried delicate hues of mint and blush as if touched by fairy hands. Beneath it, moss and scattered pebbles created a miniature world, one where small things mattered, where life gathered in quiet corners, coaxed awake by soft sunlight. Behind the jug, the garden blurred into a tapestry of color. Tulips bowed slightly in the breeze, roses stirred with the promise of blossom, and the first hints of cosmos shimmered like watercolor strokes. The background softened into a dreamy haze, bouquet lights dancing between branches, drifting with the rhythm of the season. Winter's chill still lingered, but spring's warmth was already humming just beneath it, patient and tender. A breeze swept through, carrying with it the faint scent of petunia and earth. It brushed the jug gently, as though acknowledging the transformation. Once a discarded object, it had become a sanctuary, a safe place for new growth, a vessel for quiet enchantment. Even the cracks told a story now, each line holding the memory of days past and the promise of renewal. As the light shifted, the jug seemed almost alive, glowing softly among the blooms. It was no longer broken. It had simply changed shape, becoming a cradle for spring, a keeper of small wonders, a testament that beauty often begins in unexpected places. And there, in the heart of the garden, the winter blossom cottage pot whispered its soft, hopeful magic into the turning of the seasons. The garden was still wrapped in winter's quiet breath when the light found the shattered glass. It touched each fragment gently, awakening faint glimmers of color, pinks, blues, soft gold, like a handful of morning stars scattered upon the earth. And there, in the middle of this shimmering circle, a small cactus stood, steady and bright, as if guarding a secret of its own. The planter had been born from what once seemed beyond repair, pieces of a broken window, edges carefully softened, arranged into a glowing mosaic that caught the warming sun. A faint frost clung delicately to the surface, slowly melting into droplets that glided across the glass like tiny beads of silver. With every movement of the light, the planter shimmered, filling the garden with a quiet, gentle magic. Around the base, petunias began to stir, Petunia integrifolia, Petunia saxicola, and others whose names were whispered only by gardeners who loved rare spring bloomers. They opened slowly, letting their first colors breathe out into the crisp morning air. Their fragrance drifted softly, weaving into the spaces between sunlight and frost, carrying with it a promise of renewal. Beyond the planter, the world blurred into a tapestry of pastel blossoms. Tulips lifted their heads, roses stretched toward the warmth, cosmos shimmered like watercolor strokes. The garden was still waking, still holding on to the last hush of winter, but spring was already humming through its roots. The bouquet of soft color behind the glowing planter felt like a dream settling gently back into memory, distant yet deeply familiar. The cactus, nestled safely within its glass cradle, glowed as the sun shifted. Light refracted through the shards, casting quiet rainbows across its surface. It felt as though the fractured pieces were no longer reminders of something broken, but symbols of transformation, each shard a note in a gentle song of renewal. And so, in the tender space between seasons, the shattered glass fairy glow planter came alive. It shimmered not because it tried to shine, but because the light found its way through every crack and turned them into something beautiful. In its quiet glow, winter softened, spring opened its arms, and the garden breathed with new hope. The archway appeared just as winter was beginning to loosen its slow, silvery hold on the garden. Fallen branches, once scattered across the cold ground, had been gathered with gentle hands and painted in soft pastels, mint, blush, and the faintest lavender that shimmered under the morning frost. Each branch curved toward the next as though drawn by an invisible thread, forming a delicate gateway that felt less crafted than discovered. As the sun rose, a thin veil of frost still shimmered along the bark, catching the light in tiny glints of silver. Below the arch, small cactus pots rested among mossy stones, their muted greens glowing softly against the winter air. Even their spines seemed touched by the light, sharp yet tender, as if remembering warmth for the first time in months. Petunias began to stir at the arch's feet, their petals unfolding with the shy grace of early spring. Petunia integrifolia, Petunia saxicola, and delicate wild varieties opened in soft hues, weaving themselves gently into the pastel branches. Their fragrance drifted upward, carried by a slow-moving breeze that still carried the crispness of winter. Beyond the archway, the world blurred into an enchanting haze. Tulips rose with quiet curiosity, roses stretched into the light, and cosmos painted the air with watercolor softness. The bouquet behind the arch seemed alive, warm golds melting into cool blues, forming a dreamlike path into the cottage garden beyond. The arch itself felt like a threshold between seasons. On one side, winter's silence lingered, cool and patient. On the other, spring whispered through budding leaves and stirring petals. Standing beneath the archway felt like stepping through a moment suspended in time, where both seasons breathed together in perfect harmony. Fairy charms glimmered softly from the branches, tiny symbols, subtle but full of presence, swaying gently as if greeting anyone who approached. They didn't shine with obvious magic, but with something quieter, the kind that belongs to places shaped by care, dreams, and the belief that beauty can grow from anything, even fallen branches forgotten on a cold ground. As the day warmed, frost melted into droplets that slid down the pastel bark, carrying winter's last sigh into the soil below. And the winter fairy branch archway stood gracefully, a bridge between what had been and what was about to bloom, an invitation to step forward into the tender, luminous breath of spring. The cracked jug rested gently in the cool earth, its weathered clay touched by the last traces of winter. Frost lingered along its edges, thin, delicate lines that glimmered like silver threads. Yet inside the broken vessel, a remarkable warmth had begun to grow. Nestled in soft soil and a ring of smooth stones, a tiny cactus lifted itself toward the softening daylight, its green surface glowing with quiet resilience. This humble jug had once been nothing more than a discarded shard of pottery. But now, pastel brushstrokes traced its fractures, mint, blush, and pale lavender blending like the first colors of dawn. Each line seemed to hold a memory of winter's stillness and the promise of spring's gentle arrival. The cracks, rather than signs of damage, had become delicate windows where sunlight slipped through, illuminating the little sanctuary within. Around the jug, petunias awakened. Petunia integrifolia, soft and luminous, opened its petals as though stretching after a long sleep. Petunia villadiana spilled color across the soil, while tulips swayed lightly in the cool breeze. Their fragrance mixed with the scent of early earth, weaving a tender song through the garden. In the distance, the world softened into bouquet, roses, cosmos, and Cornus Florida blending into a watercolor haze. The garden had begun its transformation, shifting from winter's hush into spring's gentle hum. But the heart of the scene remained the tiny cactus sheltered inside the cracked jug, glowing with a quiet magic that felt both fragile and eternal. A small fairy charm dangled from a painted branch beside the jug, swaying with each whisper of wind. It seemed to greet the new season, celebrating the unexpected beauty found in broken things. The sanctuary felt alive, not because it stirred or shimmered, but because it held a sense of stillness that welcomed growth. As warm light spread across the garden, the cracked jug no longer looked like an object forgotten by time. It had become a cradle, a small refuge where winter softened into memory and spring blossomed into presence. And inside its fractured walls, the cactus stood steady, holding the soft glow of a season that had just begun to breathe. The lantern glowed long before the sun reached the garden. It shimmered gently under the final breath of winter, its frosted glass catching the dim light like a jar of captured dawn. Branches, once fallen and forgotten, now framed the glass panels with pastel hues, mint, blush, and soft lavender brushed delicately along the bark. Each shard of glass was set with care, their edges smoothed, their surfaces touched by frost that glimmered like tiny stars. At the base of the lantern, small cactus pots sat nestled among moss and polished stones. Their muted greens held the quiet strength of winter survivors, rising toward the warm glow as though sensing the first whispers of spring. Around them, petunias began to unfold, Petunia integrifolia, Petunia villadiana, Petunia saxicola, each one releasing soft color into the cool morning air. The lantern's warm light spilled across the ground in gentle waves. It didn't blaze or flare, instead, it breathed, as though alive with the delicate pulse of the season shifting. The frost that clung to the upper glass slowly melted, each droplet sliding down like a silver tear, catching the glow before falling softly to the earth below. Beyond the lantern, the garden blurred into a dreamy haze. Tulips lifted their heads toward the growing light, roses blushed awake, and cosmos swayed like watercolor strokes caught in a breeze. The bouquet behind the lantern shimmered softly, gold, peach, lavender, colors blending in the tender rhythm of a cottage garden waking from winter. A subtle fragrance drifted upward as the petunias warmed. It mingled with the crisp air of early spring, carrying with it a sense of promise, of growth, of renewal, of stories whispered from one season to the next. And in that gentle hush, the fairy lantern stood as both anchor and guide, illuminating the tender space between what had been and what was beginning to bloom. The frosted fairy branch lantern didn't try to shine brightly. Its magic lay in its quiet glow. A reminder that beauty often begins in stillness. That warmth can rise from what was once broken, and that spring always finds its way through frost. At the edge of the garden, where winter's breath still lingered on the soil, the jug-shard petunia halo lay like a quiet spell cast upon the earth. Frost shimmered along the painted edges of each fragment, the soft pastel hues, mint, blush, lavender, and pale gold, gleaming under the gentle touch of early morning light. The shards, once broken and forgotten, formed a perfect circle, their softened edges cradling a sanctuary of small wonders. At the heart of the halo, a tiny cactus stood, its spines catching the sun like threads of white fire. Around it, moss and polished stones created a miniature landscape, a microcosm of resilience sheltered within the soft ring of clay. As the light warmed, the cactus glowed subtly, as though holding a quiet dream beneath its surface. Then, almost as if awakened by that glow, the petunias began to bloom. Petunia integrifolia, Petunia saxicola, and delicate wild varieties unfurled their petals in soft, luminous colors. The air grew richer with their fragrance, sweet, fresh, and tinged with the first whispers of spring. Their blossoms spilled outward, weaving themselves into the circle like a living tapestry of color. Beyond the halo, the world blurred into a dreamy bouquet of movement and light. Tulips lifted themselves toward the sky, roses opened with soft confidence, and cosmos brushed the air with their watercolor charm. The cottage garden seemed to stir from its winter rest, as if the halo itself had awakened the landscape around it. Frost melted slowly from the jug shards, dripping into the soil with silver clarity. Each droplet seemed to carry the memory of winter, returning it gently to the earth so that spring could grow freely. The pastel paint glowed brighter as the day warmed, turning the shards into small beacons of color nestled in the garden path. There was a sense of stillness in the halo, a quiet beauty that didn't demand attention, but invited it. A reminder that broken things can be reshaped, that color can rise from frost, and that magic lives most naturally in places shaped with care. The jug-shard petunia halo garden became a soft circle of renewal, a tender space where winter bowed gracefully into spring. And within that ring, the garden breathed, slowly, sweetly, as though waking from a dream. The tower rose quietly from the garden, as though it had grown from the earth itself. Once, its pieces had been scattered, broken window frames weathered by time, branches fallen from winter storms, soft frost lingering on their surfaces. But now, joined together in pastel hues of mint, blush, lavender, and dawn sky blue, they formed a whimsical sculpture that reached gently toward the warming light. Frost clung to the edges of the frame, catching the early sun in pale silver glimmers. As the warmth touched it, the frost softened, droplets forming and slipping down the wood like small, shimmering pearls. The fallen branches curled around the frame, twisting upward in delicate arcs, their pastel paint glowing softly against the morning light. Along the tower, tiny cactus pots rested, each one nestled into a nook of wood or branch hollow. Their green forms held the steady resilience of winter survivors, gently illuminated by the growing warmth of spring. Around them, petunias began to awaken. Petunia integrifolia, Petunia villidiana, and trailing saxicula spilled color in gentle waves, weaving themselves effortlessly into the tower's structure. Their petals brushed the air with a fragrance that felt like a memory of warm afternoons yet to come. Behind the tower, the garden blurred into a dreamy bouquet, tulips rising in soft pastels, roses opening in slow motion, cosmos swaying lightly as though painted by the wind. Sunlight filtered through the branches above, scattering patches of gold across the scene and wrapping the tower in a soft, enchanted glow. There was a quiet harmony in this sculpture, an unspoken dialogue between what was once broken and what had been reborn. The tower didn't stand tall out of boldness, but out of gentleness. It felt like a story stitched from fragments, a reminder that beauty often forms softly, from the remnants of seasons past. As the breeze moved through the garden, the tower seemed almost to breathe. Petunias fluttered, cactus spines shimmered, frost melted into memory, and the pastel frame glowed like a beacon of calm. In its presence, winter loosened its hold, and spring stepped forward with tender confidence. The whimsical branch and window frame tower garden stood as a serene invitation. A place where light, color, and quiet magic gathered. A small testament to how seasons repair what time has scattered, and how even broken things can rise into beauty again. The shelf hung quietly beneath the gentle morning sky, swaying ever so slightly as winter's final breath drifted across the garden. It was made from fallen branches, once rough, cold, and forgotten beneath layers of frost, now renewed in soft pastel shades of mint, blush, and lavender. The wood still carried the faint memory of winter. Frost clung to its curves like delicate lace, shimmering gently as the rising sun warmed the air. On each tier of the shelf, small cactus pots rested, their shapes humble yet full of life. They glowed softly, catching the warm gold of morning light, their spines shining like threads of pale fire. Moss and smooth pebbles lined the wooden planks, creating tiny worlds of texture and softness. The cactus seemed to breathe quietly, as though waking from a long, peaceful slumber. Around the base of the shelf, petunias began to bloom. Petunia integrifolia opened in the cool air, its petals like brush strokes of lilac and rose. Petunia villidiana spilled color down the edges, trailing gracefully as though reaching for the first warmth of spring. Their fragrance drifted upward, mingling with the crisp scent of early earth. Beyond the shelf, the garden blurred into soft bouquet, tulips rising in pastel waves, roses stirring under the light, cosmos swaying gently like watercolor clouds. The transition from winter to spring felt almost audible, as though the garden hummed with quiet hope. Sunlight played across the frost crystals, turning them into tiny sparks before they melted into droplets that slid down the pastel-painted bark. The shelf itself seemed to float, light, serene, and full of quiet magic. There was something deeply tender about the way the branches curved, the way the cactus nestled into their wooden embrace, the way the petunias framed the scene with soft color. It felt like a sanctuary, a place where fragile things could rest and grow. As the day warmed, the lantern-like glow of the shelf deepened. Winter softened into memory, spring rose gently into view, and the garden breathed as though stepping into a dream. And in the middle of that dream, the winter fairy shelf from fallen branches stood like a soft whisper of renewal, an offering of peace, color, and quiet wonder. The broken window stood quietly beneath the early light, its shattered edges catching the soft glimmer of frost. Though once discarded, it had found new life here in the heart of the garden, reborn as a tender little world, a cottage scene box that breathed gently between winter and spring. Pastel paint brushed along its wooden frame, softened by the cold, made it glow faintly like dawn's first whisper. Inside the frame, a miniature garden unfolded. Moss stretched across the base like a velvet carpet, dotted with smooth river stones that formed a tiny winding path. At the center, a small cactus rested in a pastel pot, its spines illuminated by the rising sun. Though small, it held a quiet strength, a keeper of winter's resilience ready to welcome spring's warmth. Petunias gathered around the scene, Petunia integrifolia, saxicola, and delicate blooms that had slept patiently through the season's chill. Their petals opened slowly, as though savoring the moment, releasing a faint fragrance that mingled with the crisp air. The colors around the box deepened, hints of lavender, rose, and buttercream swirled together like soft strokes of watercolor. Beyond the window frame, the garden blurred into a bouquet haze of gentle color. Tulips stood tall in pastel hues, roses stirred beneath the morning light, and cosmos brushed the air in soft pink waves. Everything felt balanced, winter's hush still clinging softly to the earth while spring stretched like a waking dream through each flower bed. The broken window, once fractured and forgotten, now framed a world full of quiet magic. Frost melted on its surface, sliding down as sparkling droplets that nourished the moss below. The pastel wood warmed slowly in the sunlight, its colors brightening with every passing moment. A small fairy bench made of fallen twigs sat tucked into the corner of the scene, hinting at the gentle presence of unseen visitors. This cottage box did not shout for attention. It whispered. A soft reminder that even broken things can cradle beauty. That small sanctuaries can hold entire stories. And that the turning of seasons is best felt in the tiniest details. As the morning grew brighter, the broken window cottage scene box glowed gently. A window not to the past, but to hope, renewal, and the sweet quiet of spring arriving. The oasis began as nothing more than broken fragments, pieces of a jug scattered across the cold earth, their edges softened by frost and time. But as winter loosened its hold, the fragments were gathered gently, arranged into a delicate bowl that cupped a pool of shimmering water. It was small, almost humble, yet held a quiet purpose, to welcome the first bees and butterflies returning with the promise of spring. The pastel paint brushed along each shard glowed softly beneath the morning light, mint, blush, lavender, and the faintest buttercream blending like the colors of a sky just beginning to warm. Tiny droplets of melted frost clung to the ceramic, sparkling like dew-kissed jewels. At the bowl's edge, a miniature cactus rested, its spines catching sunlight in pale golden lines. It stood like a sentinel, steady and still, guarding this tiny world. Around the oasis, petunias awakened in gentle layers. Petunia integrifolia opened first, releasing a soft fragrance that drifted through the crisp air. Petunia saxicola and villidiana followed, their petals brightening the earth in soft waves of rose, lilac, and creamy white. Together, they framed the oasis like a living wreath, an invitation for pollinators seeking the first taste of spring. The garden beyond blurred into a dreamy haze. Tulips rose gracefully, roses stirred with quiet confidence, cosmos swayed like pastel brushstrokes against the light. The bouquets shimmered softly, golden, pink, and violet, blending into the tender rhythm of the season's shift. It felt as though the entire garden exhaled, breathing life back into its sleeping roots. As the sun continued to rise, a bee hovered near the oasis, its wings glimmering like slivers of sunlight. It landed gently on one of the smooth stepping stones inside the bowl, dipping toward the water with delicate ease. Moments later, a butterfly drifted down, its wings brushing the air like soft painted fans. The jug fragments, once forgotten and broken, now held life, new, fragile, and filled with hope. The jug fragment pollinator oasis shimmered quietly, its magic born from simplicity. It did not shout or sparkle with extravagance. Instead, it whispered to the garden, offering a refuge for the smallest of visitors and marking the gentle passage from winter's hush to spring's unfolding bloom. The terrarium shimmered in the soft light of early morning, its glass edges kissed by the last traces of winter frost. Each fragment, once part of a broken window, had been polished, arranged, and coaxed into a new shape, forming a delicate dome that held within it a quiet world of warmth. The pastel base beneath glowed faintly, brushed with hues of mint, rose, and lavender that softened the terrarium's crystalline form. Inside the mosaic shell, a small cactus stood with serene resilience. Its round green body caught the golden morning light, casting gentle shadows across the bed of moss and polished stones beneath it. The terrarium held the warmth tenderly, as though protecting the little plant from winter's lingering breath while inviting spring to step closer. Around the dome, petunias began their slow, graceful bloom. Petunia integrifolia unfurled its petals first, releasing a light, airy fragrance that drifted through the cool air. Petunia villidiana and saxicola followed soon after, adding layers of delicate pinks and purples that framed the terrarium in a halo of color. Their blossoms trembled softly in the breeze, echoing the fragile beauty of the glass above them. Beyond this enchanted world, the garden blurred into a tapestry of warm bouquet. Tulips rose from the earth with pastel confidence, roses opened their soft hearts to the sun, and cosmos swayed in brushstrokes of pink and white. The transition between seasons felt alive, winter's chill dissolving gently into the tender breath of spring. The terrarium, however, remained the quiet center of it all. Frost melted slowly along its edges, forming tiny beads of water that caught the sunlight like suspended stars. As the wind shifted, reflections danced across the cactus, casting shimmering shapes across the inside of the dome. It felt like a secret world, small, fragile, and full of wonder. There was magic in its stillness. Magic in its creation from broken pieces. Magic in the way it held warmth while the world thawed around it. The enchanted cactus terrarium stood not as an ornament, but as a gentle reminder that beauty can rise from the fractured, that seasons blend softly, and that life thrives quietly, even in the smallest of spaces. The totem rose gently from the earth, as if winter itself had shaped it during the quietest hour of dawn. Formed from fallen branches gathered after the last frost, its structure leaned toward the sky in soft, graceful lines. Pastel paint, mint, rose, lavender, and buttercream wrapped each curve of bark in warmth, transforming the once cold wood into a pillar of spring's promise. Frost still clung to the totem's edges, catching the early morning light in a scatter of silver sparkles. As the sun inched higher, the frost began to melt, droplets slipping slowly down the pastel colors like tiny beads of glass. Each drop carried winter's last whisper as it released into the awakening soil. At the base, a small cactus rested with quiet dignity. Its rounded form and soft glow seemed to anchor the totem, offering a grounding presence amid the pastel swirls of color above. Nestled in moss and smooth stones, it stood as a reminder of resilience, of life that endures even in the coldest days. Around the totem, petunias stirred. Petunia integrifolia unfurled first, casting delicate purple hues across the ground. Petunia villidiana followed, its petals catching the wind like tiny silk flags. Together, they created a soft ribbon of color at the foot of the totem, blurring gently into the surrounding garden. And beyond them, the world shimmered into bouquet. Tulips rose from the soil in pastel strokes. Roses warmed beneath the sunlight. Cosmos swayed in a soft watercolor haze. The garden felt alive with a quiet orchestra of movement and color, winter's hush merging seamlessly with spring's breath. The totem didn't dominate the space. It whispered into it. Each painted branch told a story of transformation, of wood fallen in winter storms, now reborn into something gentle and enchanting. Tiny frost crystals shimmered like fairy dust, melting as the day warmed, revealing the pastel beneath with renewed clarity. The air thickened with the sweet fragrance of petunias, mingling with the cool memory of winter. The totem stood at the center of this shifting season, a silent guardian of renewal. As sunlight deepened, the pastel-painted winter branch totem seemed to glow from within, radiating calm, color, and quiet magic. In its presence, winter softened. Spring opened. And the garden breathed, alive, tender, and full of hope. The waterfall planter rose like a quiet dream from the edge of the garden, each cracked jug tilted at just the right angle, as if guiding an invisible stream from winter's memory into spring's embrace. The terracotta, once broken and forgotten, had been painted in soft pastels, mint, lavender, blush, and pale buttercream, making each fracture glow like lines drawn by dawn's own hand. Frost clung to the rims of the jugs, capturing threads of early light that shimmered like tiny crystals. As the sun warmed, droplets formed and slipped down the ceramic curves, gliding from one jug to the next like soft beads of melted winter. It gave the illusion of water flowing downward, a silent cascade of light tracing the planter's path. In each jug lay a small sanctuary. Tiny cactus plants nestled into beds of moss and smooth stones. Their surfaces caught the morning sun, glowing with serene resilience. They seemed to breathe gently, drawing warmth from the shifting season. Around the cracked edges, petunias awakened. Petunia integrifolia opened first, spilling soft purples down the tiers. Petunia villadiana and saxicola followed, cascading like pastel waterfalls, their petals fluttering lightly in the cool breeze. Their colors, lavender, rose, cream, flowed in harmony with the structure, completing the illusion of a magical stream carved not of water, but of blossoms. Beyond the planter, the garden softened into a luminous haze. Tulips lifted their elegant heads, roses unfurled with sleepy grace, and cosmos drifted like watercolor strokes in the wind. The bouquet behind the planter shimmered, golden, peach, pink, like reflections dancing in a pool of light. The cracked jug waterfall planter stood at the center of it all, not grand or loud, but deeply enchanting. Its beauty lay in its rebirth, broken pieces becoming a vessel of life, color, and movement. It spoke softly of resilience, of creativity, of the tender art of turning something once lost into something that breathes. As the day warmed, frost became dew, light became warmth, and winter became a fading whisper. The planter glowed in the gentle transition. A cascading story of renewal. A fairy waterfall of petals and cactus. A small miracle between the seasons. The old window stood beside the porch entry like a quiet guardian of seasons past. Its frame, once weathered and forgotten, had been brushed with soft pastels, mint, blush, lavender, and buttercream, each color blending into the next like morning light dissolving winter's final shadow. Frost still clung to the edges of the glass, catching the sun in delicate silver glimmers. It was a gentle reminder that winter had not fully gone, yet spring was already stepping forward with warmth in its hands. Beneath the window, a small cactus sat in a cracked jug, its round form glowing softly in the early light. It looked peaceful, steady, as though content to be housed in a vessel shaped by its fractures. Moss formed a cushion around it, dotted with polished pebbles that seemed to hum with quiet warmth. Petunias stirred at the window's base. Petunia integrifolia opened first in a shy bloom. Petunia saxicola followed, trailing softly like falling ribbons. Petunia villadiana brushed the porch stones with its pale petals. Their colors, pinks, lilacs, creams, seemed to echo the pastels of the window frame, weaving the entire scene into a gentle harmony. A breeze slipped through the porch, carrying their scent like a whispered greeting. Beyond the window, the garden blurred into soft bouquet. Tulips rose in graceful arcs, roses unfurled their first layers, and cosmos swayed in a watercolor haze. The shifting light painted the scene in strokes of gold and lavender, turning the porch into a threshold not only between indoors and out, but between winter and spring. As frost melted from the frame, droplets slid down the glass like tiny stars melting into the morning. They fell silently onto the petals below, feeding the soil with winter's last breath. The broken window no longer seemed broken. It felt reborn. A frame for the new season, a backdrop for blooming life, a gentle invitation to pause before entering the home. Its presence softened the porch, filling the entryway with warmth, color, and quiet magic. The fairy window bedside garden became a tender welcome, a reminder that beauty is often waiting at the threshold, blooming from places once forgotten.